I can see
America has
motherfucker.
genocide.
You motherfucker. Motherfucker. Yes. Son of the bitch.
Fuck you.
Alright, now in a few days I'm going to court in Sydney, Australia. The New South Wales Police Force will attempt to imprison me because I held up a sign reading "Fuck Xi Jinping." Because I held up a sign insulting a brutal dictator who has incarcerated millions of Uyghurs in concentration camps, crushed freedoms from Tibet to Hong Kong, threatened to invade Taiwan on a weekly basis. Because I dared to insult this brutal dictator, I'm facing conviction and a potential jail term in Australia. It is a crazy story. It all goes back to April last year when I held the sign and Chinese ultra-nationalists tried to bash me in front of hundreds of eyewitnesses in broad daylight simply for holding this sign. And somehow the New South Wales police have actually come down effectively on the side of these CCP thugs. These people who, because they didn't like criticism of the Chinese Communist Party in Australia, they tried to bash someone up. They tried to assault innocent bystanders. They hurled racial slurs at some of my Taiwanese friends who attended the protests, calling them race traitors for offending the Chinese nation. And somehow the New South Wales Police Force have actually come down on their side and they're going after me. So let's go through, let's watch this footage together. Let's analyse this entire debacle, and I hope you'll see from the footage that to try crack down on me for simply holding a sign, insulting a brutal dictator in Australia, to come down on me rather than these CCP thugs, I think if you see the footage, you'll understand that this is a farce. This is completely unjust. So if you see here, I didn't write this sign. I don't speak Mandarin, unfortunately. I want to learn it. But my Taiwanese friend wrote the sign. She wrote the sign. So we're holding the sign in the middle of Eastwood shopping centre. This is where the candidate Kim Dong-Do, a Tibetan Australian refugee, was running. We were in the same political party. I was promoting her campaign. We were campaigning alongside her. At first, people were completely peaceful. There were a couple young Chinese Australian guys my age who just walked past laughing. You know, there was good humour looking at the sign. And then some kinds of psychos appear. They try and bash people up. Watch on. So this guy comes along, this guy in a black coat, and immediately he's very aggressive. And if you listen to him clearly, he says, we should report this guy. This is the guy who attacks China. And so this narrative by the New South Wales Police Force that I offended people with the sign because it contained an insult, that's a lie. This guy clearly knew who I was and he knew my background as a political campaigner against the Chinese Communist Party, and he didn't like me on those grounds. You can listen to him. And this is why he opposes me. Going on.
Please should complain about this guy. I think this guy comes out from prison.
Yeah, I am confused.
Okay.
My name's Drew Pablo.
This guy they went to the Times Square on the Tasmania. Okay, he has been complained. Make sure you take a photo.
Yeah.
Okay, if you
Yeah, my
want
name's
to
Drew.
complain, just
You are speaking the group language.
Oh,
We'll
well,
come back anyway.
This man has concentration camps, so I don't think it's a
Yes.
main thing.
No,
it
no,
is
no.
very, very rude.
Good. You are really
very good.
bad Chinese.
So he says, you know, you're spreading rude language. I say, well, this man has concentration camps. This guy has incarcerated millions in concentration camps. What is rude language next to these concentration camps? And this is what really seems to set him off.
Yeah, that is
But you better go away.
really
I'm
rude.
happy. You
Very
finish it?
rude. You better close it.
I'm very happy.
Fuck you, mother.
You know, I'm not insulted by people saying these insults. Free speech. Listen in the background. You start hearing the guy in the black coat start yelling rotten banana. Now what does that mean? I didn't know this at the time, but it actually turns out that it's a Chinese racial slur. It basically means, this is what my Taiwanese friend explained to me, it basically means yellow on the outside, white on the inside. Effectively, he's calling her a race traitor for standing next to me and insulting Xi Jinping. You know, this is fascist stuff, saying that based on your blood, you should owe fealty to the Chinese Communist Party. This is what he's saying to my friend. He says, because you're Chinese, because that's your ethnicity, that's your blood, you should owe fealty to the Chinese Communist Party and Xi Jinping. And because you don't, you're a race traitor. This is basically what he's trying to say. This is the subtext, and he starts hurling this racial slur.
Rotten banana. Rotten banana.
You are rotten people.
You're rotten banana.
Not even
It's very clear he uses this slur multiple times.
When in the state of Chinese, it's all Chinese community. 操你妈!
That is fucking your mom.
Xi Jinping.
Your mom.
Your mom!
Mom, yeah, fuck you, mom.
You're fucking you!
And I keep explaining to people, the sign is only insulting Xi Jinping. It's only insulting the Chinese Communist Party. I'm not insulting Chinese Australians. I'm not insulting anyone other than Xi Jinping. One man on this planet. If his supporters, if people who support Xi Jinping are offended on behalf of Xi Jinping, that's another matter. But the sign itself is only addressed towards Xi Jinping. So if they're getting upset, it's pretty obvious. They must be supporters of Xi Jinping. Look, I'm peaceful protester. I'm not.
Yeah, I know. Because making.
You understand?
What does it say?
You understand this?
Yes.
Ask them, what does it say?
Why you see this one? How about I say to you?
Xi Jinping has a concentration camp.
I say to concentration.
1 million
good.
genocide.
Okay. Fucking shit, you motherfucker. I can see
America has genocide.
Listen.
So here, when I talk about the genocide against the Uyghurs, this guy in the black sweatshirt is double my size. This guy's very thuggish. He constantly gets up in my space, threatens to hit me. And this guy starts getting very offended when I mention the genocide. And he gets in my face and starts yelling bullshit. America has genocide. So again, the narrative that these were just innocent people walking past who were offended because the sign had a swear word. This guy is very clearly offended by my political position against the Chinese Communist Party, against Xi Jinping. And he's making the claim, no, we aren't committing genocide. He's identifying with the Chinese Communist Party, and he's identifying with Xi Jinping, and he's saying, we're not committing genocide, it's bullshit. This is straight up. This is what he's saying. And so he's showing, he's not just opposing me because he doesn't like the sign. He's opposing me because he knows that I'm against the Chinese Communist Party.
Country, you motherfucker! Hey, son of the bitch! Hey, I don't mind.
We are Chinese, you can't do this.
Motherfucker! Yes! Son of the bitch!
It's very normal behaviour to get so offended by a sign simply directed against Xi Jinping, to be offended on Xi Jinping's behalf, one of the most powerful men in the world. Xi Jinping doesn't know these guys exist, so why the fuck are they offended? It's interesting, these guys got really aggressive and angry to an irrational degree, and I think it's completely unjustified. Getting in my face, threatening to hit me, and as you watch this footage here, watch the footage, suddenly the man in that black sweatshirt will attack Chris, the independent filmmaker who was filming. He attacks this guy completely unprovoked. He attacks this filmmaker completely unprovoked. Watch this.
Bitch! Come on!
Fuck you!
Guys, help!
So he launches an unprovoked physical assault on innocent bystander, the independent filmmaker who was not part of the protest. And then he attacks me, rips the sign from my hands, tears it to shreds, stomps on it while shouting in my face. I mean, this is an aggressive act. This is a physical assault. There are dozens of eyewitnesses in broad daylight. It is exceptionally brazen. Like, this guy somehow believed he was above the law, that he was able to just physically assault anyone he wanted. And yeah, it's like he didn't respect the Australian law. Watch on.
Offensive, okay?
So get my camera from over there, see how much I get it.
No offensive. Yeah, your language. Hey, no offensive. No offensive, okay? We stand offensive. No offensive, okay? We stand offensive.
I'm not sorry in any country.
No offensive. See what you're going to
To the dictator. So at this point, I put my hands up and I'm showing I'm a peaceful protester. I'm not there to physically fight or attack anyone. I'm actually remaining calm, got my hands up, and then I put my hands behind my back. No one can make any mistake about it. So anyone who's continuing to attack me from the point that my sign is ripped up, torn to shreds, and I've got my hands behind my back, I mean, anyone at that point, that is an unacceptable level of aggression. That is just straight up, threatening assault. We're against the dictatorship. We believe in democracy. Free Hong Kong, free Taiwan, free the Uyghurs, free Hong Kong.
Fuck China.
So here, again, the man in the black sweatshirt, after already assaulting 2 people, he gets up in my space again, flinches as though he's about to hit me, and he's just yelling, Hong Kong is China's. You know, this is someone who is very explicitly a Chinese ultra-nationalist, someone who is opposed to anyone criticizing the Chinese government. It's very clear by the words he utters, it's very clear by his overall demeanor. He doesn't just feel offended because the sign has a swear word on it. No, he's got a political position. He's against anyone criticizing the government. It's very obvious at this point. And so not aggressive, you know, the constant flinching as though he was about to hit me, constantly moving his arm, I mean, getting up into my space. He kept on circling me, walking behind me as though he was going to hit me from behind. You know, it was a physically intimidating situation. And the whole time I had my hands behind my back. The whole time. I'm non-violent. Look, my hands behind my back. Look, my hands behind my back. My hands behind my back. I'm non-violent. I'm peaceful. I'm non-violent. I'm peaceful. My hands behind my back.
No, you are violent.
Watch here. You know, this guy will make 4 attempts to charge the cameraman, the independent filmmaker. He makes 4 attempts to charge him, motioning as though he's going to physically assault the cameraman who had just been physically assaulted. So I think this guy, and he was never charged by New South Wales Police, I think this guy has committed multiple offences here. He's hurled racial slurs, he's threatened to hit multiple people on multiple occasions, yet police don't seem to care. Watch him on 4 occasions threaten to assault an independent filmmaker.
You are
Coward! 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 What's happening?
Here we go again.
Here, quickly, I'll come down. Don't shoot. What's up?
I'm used to this. I'm used to this.
Certainly not deranged behaviour by an elderly man to repeatedly charge someone for just filming. Chris, the cameraman, was not part of the protest. He's an independent filmmaker. Very slick. You can tell this guy is completely peaceful. He's just walking in the overall direction, and then he sees Chris and he walks away. Clearly, he's not trying to intimidate anyone. He's not trying to attack anyone. It's just a coincidence. Very clear. It's very clear. This guy's very slick. Watch it. Watch it. It's amazing. It's amazing, this stuff. No. We're against dictatorship.
You are disrespecting Chinese.
Taiwan, free Hong Kong.
You go away. Free Australia.
Yeah, we're free here. We have
Australia is a religion. Fuck you.
free Taiwan, free the Uyghurs, free Hong Kong.
Fuck Xi Jinping.
This is a guy who posts on social media.
I'm non-violent. Look, my hands behind my back. Look, my hands behind my back. Hit me. Now, at this point, the man in the sweatshirt had threatened to hit me on like several occasions. 4 or 5 occasions, he'd threatened to hit me. On 4 or 5 occasions, within 10 minutes time span, he'd threatened to hit me, coming up behind me, circling behind me, flinching his arm. He'd already physically assaulted the cameraman. And at this point, as an expression of defiance, trying to demonstrate that I'm not going to give in to the intimidation attempt, that's when I say, okay, my hands are up behind my back. What are you going to do? Are you going to try hit someone with their hands behind their back? Come on, are you a coward? Are you going to hit someone behind their back? That's what I was trying to do. That's the reason I said it. It wasn't an attempt to incite violence, as the New South Wales Police are trying to argue. No, I was responding to an attempt over 10 minutes or more by this guy to try to intimidate me, try to psych people out. Someone had to make clear they weren't going to capitulate in the face of these thuggish intimidation tactics. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to show I didn't want to fight, my hands were behind my back, but I was saying, if you're going to hit me, hit me. Do it in front of everyone. If you're going to try and intimidate me, I'm not intimidated. That's what I was saying. Going on. In front of everyone. We'll get it in the police.
What can you say? You say violent.
My hands behind my back, I'm non-violent, I'm peaceful. My hands behind my back, I'm non-violent, I'm peaceful. I'm non-violent, I'm peaceful, my hands behind my back.
No, you are violent. Because you're inciting.
No. We're against dictatorship.
You are disrespecting Chinese.
Free Taiwan, free Hong Kong.
You go away. You are so scared.
Scared? My hands are behind my back. And I don't see how they could claim I was scared when I was one lone individual with my hands behind my back facing down an angry crowd of people who were constantly threatening to assault me. It's not cowardly to do that. It's actually courage. It's a feat of courage to face down this mob of thugs. My hands behind my back. Not trying to start a fight. Just refusing to capitulate to their threats. I don't see how they could say I was a coward. I don't see how they could say I was scared. I think it demonstrates the opposite, but going on. My hands are up behind my back. Am I scared? I'm not scared.
You are a coward.
Coward, my hands
You
behind my
are
back.
saying the rude word.
Look, I'm not a coward.
You are
My hands behind my back. They were trying to go me, trying to say I was a coward. I had my hands behind my back, facing down an angry crowd of dozens of people. People had already assaulted the cameraman, had threatened to assault me multiple times. I was holding my hands behind my back, remaining calm. I don't think that's cowardly whatsoever, but, you know, things work differently in the minds of Chinese Communist Party thugs. I don't know. Keep going, keep going.
I'm used
Oh
to
yeah,
this. I'm
oh,
used to
you
this.
shoot me, I shoot you.
It's not right. You are scared. 心有鬼啊
Again, another attempt by our friend in the black coat to charge an independent journalist. Very deranged and demented behaviour, but for some reason, I'm the one going to court rather than this bloke, but going on.
You are so scared.
Scared? My hands are behind my back. My hands are up behind my back. Am I scared?
Yeah, you are a coward.
Coward? My
You
hands
are
behind my
saying
back.
the rude word.
Look,
For country. You are a coward.
Coward. Fuck yourself. You're not welcome here.
My hands behind my back. Look, I'm not coward. I'm not fear. I don't fear. Look, I'm peaceful. I'm peaceful.
This inciting violence here.
Inciting violence. I've not touched a single person. My hands are behind my back.
You are a coward.
Come hit me. I'm not a coward. We're here to speak against Xi Jinping. We're supporting democracy. We're supporting... China is a dictatorship. We're against dictatorship. 1 million Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps.
Shut up! You are the bitch! You bitch!
1 million.
Stupid
This
bitch!
lady's very, you know, this lady's very kind, very eloquent. I mean, again, if we're going to charge anyone for offences of public disorder, offensive conduct, if we're going to charge anyone, you would think it would not be the person just simply making a political speech. Maybe it would be the lady pointing in my Taiwanese friend's face and continually yelling, "You bitch, you bitch." But that's just me.
Stop! You are weird!
What's going on?
You bitch!
What's going on?
1 million in concentration camps.
What's going on?
Fuck you!
What's going on?
1 million in concentration camps.
You
So eventually, New South Wales police rock up after about 10 minutes. And I'm peaceful.
fuck you, bitch!
they immediately go to me, immediately begin questioning me. And this is when they begin their whole crusade against Drew Pavlu, rather than the people who physically assaulted multiple people on that day.
So who called?
Fuck Xi Jinping! Fuck Xi Jinping! Fuck Xi Jinping! Fuck the dictator! I'm a
What
peaceful
happened? Yeah, that's fine. I'll tell you.
They've-
Fuck you.
Yeah, they're
I want to
attacking
know.
Now, why can't somebody insult Xi Jinping? Why is he worthy of respect? Why should we maintain some kind of diplomatic posture with regards to a dictator that has millions of people in concentration camps? In these concentration camps, rape is used as a weapon of war against Uyghur women. Some of the few people who've managed to get out of the concentration camps and tell their stories to the wider world have described brutal and horrendous scenes of gang rape and sexual violence used as a method of torture on a horrific scale within these concentration camps. It's accompanied by efforts to suppress the Uyghur birth rate through forced sterilization, forced implantation of IUDs, forced abortions. There are attempts to demolish Uyghur graveyards, Uyghur shrines. Now, why should I, as someone who believes in humanity, as someone who believes in, you know, civil rights and equal rights for all people, as someone who ardently opposes genocide, why the hell should I demonstrate any amount of respect whatsoever to a brutal dictator responsible for these crimes? If someone went out into the middle of Sydney and held a sign saying "Fuck Hitler," you know, would they receive this level of response? No, they wouldn't. So why is it that there's this level of crackdown against me for insulting a dictator who is responsible for the largest roundup of an ethnic minority group based on religious status since the Holocaust? That's the Uyghur genocide. That's a real fact. The largest roundup of an ethnic minority group based on religious status since the Holocaust. And somehow, New South Wales police and the Australian authorities are cracking down on me simply because I say no one should respect this dictator. This is where we are at.